Go.
Good afternoon, folks. Here I am again. I don't have my decal on today. I just forgot to put it on. But I want to update you on some things that we've talked about before. And one of them is flying saucers. I haven't seen any flying saucers. If you have, I wish you'd let me know about it. It would be nice to know. You know, they count those flying saucers up and then they figure out what a statistical figure can be from chance or other things that could be in the sky, or just flat out wrong things to say. Lies is what they call those things. The other thing is that we've been talking some about how to relax. We've been talking about envy some, and I'll talk more about that. That's my own thing. And let's see, what else did we talk about? We've talked about, we've mentioned the Sufis, and I'll be talking more about that so that you can understand that. Somebody said that maybe Wicca or witches and witchcraft would be interesting to talk about. We've already talked about some of the analyses that have been made of the books and of the time that the Book of Enoch was written, and what was in the Book of Enoch, and more about that. So we gave that a pretty good go. So what I want to talk about today is I'm functioning as pretty much as an independent scholar. That's what I'm functioning at, and what I discover and what I put together, I'll share with you a lot of it, not all of it, because not all of it's shareable on the media, but I'll share a lot of that with you. But if you have things that you'd like to ask questions about, like what I do a lot is compare things. I review them and kind of compare them. And one of them that's coming up real soon is more about the Bible. We've talked a lot about the Bible, and the reason we've talked a lot about that is that there's a book with 66 books in it that's called the Bible, but there's another Bible that's got 100 books in it, and that those books amount to about that much compared to the Bible, which is about that much, unless it's a big family Bible, which everybody ought to have. But that's just that's up to you. Maybe you're not into that, and you would like to have other sorts of things to remind you of what your spirituality is. And maybe we need to talk about spirituality. How do you discover that? What do you do with it? How can you increase it? How can you develop it to a point that it's useful for you? And there are some things that are very useful for you if you develop what's called psychic energy. That's not the same as physical energy, like, you know, push and pull things. It's a psychic energy. It's a spiritual sort of thing. And we'll talk about that and how to get more of that and what to do with it when you get it. So that would be interesting, I would presume. Excuse me a second here. Oh, there's another thing that's people are interested in. They've always wondered about these sorts of things, and that's magic. Magic is spelled two ways. I can only find one of them in a dictionary. That's M-A-G-I-C. That's magic. The other magic has a C-K on the end of it, and that's a whole series of things that under which Wicca, witchcraft, and a lot of religious things way back when are accounted for. The Egyptians had a lot of magic in their work, and maybe you'd like to learn some about that. And there is magic that you can do, and there's magic that the Book of Enoch talked about. There's magic in some other books that have reviewed that, and that's all also very interesting. Let's see, what else? Oh, and we'll keep track on Bigfoot and whatever giants exist in this world. There's an occasional that you will see one, but there are not very many. And there are bones that indicate that giants were here. There were on some of the islands in the Mediterranean. However, we have some giants here, except nobody's been able to grab one. Hope they aren't planning to shoot one, because that would be just totally unfair. Anyway, it's the Nephilim, and they just are animals or creatures that may be half spiritual, and they can disappear at the drop of a hat. They leave no track practically. There's no bones found, but then there aren't very many bones found of bears or deer or those kinds of things either. So we keep track of that and keep you informed to the best that I can find out. But like I say, I'm a researcher. That's what I do mostly. I have been a therapist for 40 years, and I can do quite a bit about that. But I'm mostly right now that and a researcher. So if you have some things you'd like me to find out about, send it to Ivan.Fraser, Frasier, at gmail.com, and I'll do something with it. So I think that is about all I'm going to say today, and I will wish you a happy week, a healthy week, and for heaven's sake, hang on to things.
What's the name of your research institute, Dad?
Oh, my research institute is Hidden Acres, parapsychology, and other interesting things. See ya.
I have a question. Can I hop in?
Yeah?
Okay. Artificial intelligence.
No, I have real intelligence.
You have real intelligence?
Yeah.
So, the question is this.
Oh, that's a whole subject I can talk about.
Yeah. So artificial intelligence is big right now, right? And essentially what's happened is they've created a program that can search the web and look at any piece of art. And what's happening is people are getting onto these artificial intelligence and they're saying, make me a painting in the style of Vincent van Gogh. And it's producing that painting.
Uh-huh.
Do we as a society feel that we need to compensate the artists that are essentially being mocked in our society?
Being mocked?
Like, for example, like if I say, write me an essay in the style of Ivan Fraser, and it writes me an essay in your style of writing, how should I compensate you?
Yeah.
Right? Do you, as the person that's being borrowed from, deserve to be compensated? And how do you do that?
Oh. The minute you write anything at all,
Mhm.
uh, uh, and mostly this applies to papers, essays, and poems, and books, and all that, it's copyrighted.
Mhm.
And if somebody just decides to do that over again, to copy it,
Mhm.
that's a copyright infringement, and that's suable.
Gotcha.
So, as far as I know, that applies to the written word and also patents. And I don't know about paintings, but I would guess that if anybody ever brought it up, why would you pick Vincent Van Gogh? He's so tough.
I mean,
my
just
goodness
just
sakes.
anybody, right? I mean, if you
Yeah.
essentially have a super intelligence that can draw from anything created by mankind,
Uh-huh.
and you say, write me an essay in the style of Martin Luther King or like any famous writer. Let's use Grisham. Is that the?
Yep.
Is it John Grisham,
Uh-huh.
So-
the famous novelist? And
Yeah.
you said, hey, write me a novel in the style of John Grisham. And this AI creates it for free. Do I need to pay John Grisham for somebody mocking his works and creating a brand new piece of work in his style?
If you don't get his permission, you will through a court.
And I think, and that's what's happening
Yeah.
at the legislative level right now, is
Yeah.
we have all these high-minded conversations that are playing out that no one has the answer to.
Right.
Because forever, like, you can basically go online and like pull a picture, make it a backdrop, and now it's our podcast,
Yeah.
right? And we've been doing it for years, and we're not alone. Like, so we're not the only ones doing this. We're in a culture where you're constantly borrowing things.
Yeah.
If our social media manager chooses to lift up an organization, she's grabbing their logo and putting it on their website to lift them up. The artist that created that logo is no longer being compensated.
Right.
So the breakdown of the patent becomes when it's public knowledge, I guess?
No, the copyright law, as I understand it, is it's copyrighted for a lifetime, the lifetime of the person who did the work,
Mhm.
and for 50 years after.
Got it.
So, if he wasn't around to collect dollars from it or something, his people he leaves things to, you know, could do that. But, and that kind of, that's, you know, China doesn't even, you know, say,
Yeah.
we'll do what we want, you know.
And you see that with products too. Like a new line of
Yeah.
product can be like almost mocked by China, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
it's on the market for half the price. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a really interesting discussion, like in terms of what happens next, because so much of our time and energy has been to the work, and if you take out, if the machine is able to do the work, it becomes scary. There's another thing that I was pondering the other day. It's called P-Doom, and essentially
Called what?
P-Doom,
Okay.
and it stands for probability of doom. So what is your, or what is your outlook on the artificial intelligence crashing humanity as a whole? What % risk does artificial intelligence have against humanity? And the scientists right now are calling it P-Doom, because some people think, okay, there's a 50% chance this is going to crash our world. And others are like, oh, this is like a 3% chance it's going to crash our world. And somebody proposed to me recently where so if an artificial intelligence is set to say, your goal is to get a thumbs up from the user. So go out, do things, come back, and if I say it's good, then that's your goal, right? So the loop of the artificial intelligence is, I want this, boop, 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 good work, you did it, right?
Yeah.
So what happens when that artificial intelligence is able to change that, hey, good job, to whatever they want to?
Well, that's going to have to be something that the Congress, the House of Representatives and attorneys are going to have to thrash out. There's always attorneys to thrash out stuff, but I'm glad we got them, you know. But it's like the rights. What they stand for is to make sure that that you have the rights according to law.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's a copyright thing and somebody's infringing that copyright or a patent,
Mm-hmm.
well, we'll go see what the judge says about that,
can get a
or
lawyer.
the jury. See,
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of the precedent law is what has been done and what's been decided on times past in similar or identical situations. Of course, there's never an identical situation, but similar situations.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the structure of our law.
Right.
France has a different thing, but ours is a precedent law, and it follows after the United Kingdom law, I believe.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you ask a interesting question, and it's a tough question. It's one that people ought to be thinking about, namely our legislators, and that is, how does the culture change to accommodate what is going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
For instance, we know that nobody's going to stop artificial intelligence, and if
Right.
somebody tries to do that, well, then somebody's going to do, what they ought not do. But okay, so that bunch of people lose their jobs. Well, what should that happen? How about some prices go down and they lose part of their jobs because part of their job is done by the AI,
Mm-hmm.
and the manufacturers have to start by not having AI do all the work,
Mm-hmm.
but do some of the work and move it in that way. In other words, it's the culture has to change to accommodate that, or you're going to have hell bent for election is what you're going to have.
Yeah, I heard a story just the other day that really comes to mind when you say that. And essentially, what it was an artist is tasked with writing 5 different prints per day. And what this artist has done in their job is they've supplemented some of the work with artificial intelligence. So now, rather than him taking all day to do 5 paintings, he can now do 8. So the question becomes, is it morally right for the employer to now raise that quota from 5 pieces to 8 pieces?
Is it morally?
Is it morally just, I guess, to raise the quota because now part of their job is being done by artificial intelligence?
I think
That's tough. I don't have the answer. I'm just asking the question.
yeah, he run into a lot of difficulty. So you get to the thing like artificial intelligence. Is that going to be a person with a social security number?
No?
Is it going to be a machine?
Mm-hmm.
Then who owns the machine?
Depends on which one you're using, but yeah.
Yeah,
Somebody
yeah.
Somebody does.
Somebody does.
Somebody does,
And so that production will also perhaps lower the price of whatever's produced because there is more of them produced. That's the way the economy works, isn't it?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of takes you back to, farming. As farming became more efficient, the jobs went away,
Yeah.
and quotas more often than not went up naturally over the years.
Yeah.
So maybe
Will-
that's just part of it. Maybe
Will
it's just part of.
AI fly airplanes?
Yes. They do now.
Right, I mean, they only take off and land, that's all the pilot's really responsible for, but,
Well, that's all he's scared to do.
yeah,
Yeah, a lot of questions are coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
there's even the question of the possibility of extinction.
Of what?
Extinction.
Of who?
Will AI possibly extinct the human race?
Not a chance.
Not a chance, I agree.
Yeah. There's another question to be asked, and this is a tough question, and that is, and it's a religious question, or it could be a religious question, is who made us? And is it a, is it evolution that did this, or was this some of these brighter people from other planets or something? They said, "Oh, here's a good planet here. Why don't we? I'll tell you what. Let's make a self-replicating a robot, and make it so they can reproduce themselves." So we got to make male and female, and we see how that's worked before. When you put some other things down there, that seems to work out pretty good. Eggs work, and birds and things, but it's like people are like, we got some monkeys down there and some gorillas and things like that, and they survived doing that, so maybe we could use that. And so they constructed a human being. Now that gets into another discussion, which I got to get the guy's permission for, is what was I going to say?
You're not talking about the
robot.
the robots, like
The human robot.
like a genetic material type
Genetic
encoding.
material, yeah, that would be, they'd have to design that into it, or they'd have to see how they had to improve it maybe over a few years. Thousands to us, a few years, and maybe they land it back on the planet and see how that works.
So I think like a lot of that, to me, like where did we come from, inherently asks the question, what is our purpose? Do you feel those two questions are tied together or not?
Well, let me ask you a question now. Why do you think they have to have a purpose?
Good question.
Touche, touche.
Good, I mean, great question, right? But I do. I feel like I need a purpose. To our previous discussion, Kelly,
Yeah.
What makes us special,
Yeah.
right? You're constantly looking for a reason that you exist. And you almost feel that you have to lean into, this is my purpose, this is why I exist. And to your question, why do you need a purpose? Don't we all inherently want a purpose?
Well, I don't know.
And maybe that's part of the genetic machining that you're getting at, right?
Yeah. And they say, well, these guys are getting out of hand down there. We got to go straighten some things around a little bit there and get them back on track so that they're human.
That is a great topic, though. Purpose.
Humans are doing what they're supposed to do.
They're doing it. They're still here.
They're still here.
Except
yeah.
we're gonna go join them on Mars here pretty soon.
I'm going to say this, and it'll fall flat with a lot of people, but assume we're constructed by God and those angels.
Mhm.
That whole thing that's kind of out of our reach, mostly.
Right.
Damn it, what was it?
Do you? Yeah. I mean, so angels and that, and all of unpacking that. Do you think that the angels came down and said, "Here's the book, go," or
Well,
do you think
that's
it was
what I-
made by humans to cope with interference?
That's what I was going to get to, if I remember what I was going to talk about.
I was kind of guessing. I was thinking that's where you were going. Yeah.
Yeah. Now what was?
I don't know. But I mean, I guess that's what comes to mind. You know, in terms
Yeah.
of like, you know, this rise of interference and extraterrestrial. I
Yeah.
question, you know, is a religious following in response to interference, or was it bestowed to humanity from interference? Whether that's a god, an angel, or
whatever.
a person in a silver ship.
Well, mister, do you remember the book, the writings I gave you?
The Book of Enoch.
Yeah, that one's one of them.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of other ones too that are there. Now, they haven't put that into a Bible yet, but they have these various writings around. And not everybody can read. Not everybody can write.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so, but anyway, they choose themselves, or somebody chooses them to be leaders. And so this book, sir, how would you like to know how you operate?
Yeah. I don't know if I want to know how I operate, to be quite honest with you.
It's like, what are we supposed to do? I can tell you one thing. What the book says is you got to worship God. You gotta keep your spirituality there. That's the one rule that seems to be the one rule. And beyond that, then there's this whole world of social give and flow. Remember the first time he tried it, he didn't like it. We got all these giants and all these strange people down there, and look what they're doing to these guys' daughters. You know, it's just all over the place. I tell you what, we'll send Mars by. Mars has got a lot of water, so, and they don't have enough water. So we're going to send Mars by, and the gravity's just going to suck that water right off over there, and there's going to be a massive flood.
Huh.
And everybody's going to be dead, except Noah.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, we're just like a big petri dish, and they released like 15 types of species, and humans were the ones that made it on top of the water.
Yeah. Well, but that's one way to look at it.
That's a trip.
That's one way to look at it.
That's trippy.
Now, AI is another way to look at it.
We
but
need some time travel so we can go back and verify this.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you make us a time machine?
Yeah.
I'll be your Marty McFly. Don't you worry about it.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Thanks for joining us, y'all. Till next time. Good work, Ivan.